What's up, family? Joe Mill here with Killer Miller Q, and we back at you again live. Today we're gonna be putting together a smoked tomahawk ribeye. I guarantee this baby is gonna be nice. We're gonna be reverse searing it here on the Lone Star. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. We spent a little bit of allowance money. Hold tight, check it out. All right, team, we're not gonna take too much time, but we're gonna jump right into this thing. We got us a prime tomahawk ribeye, so I want you to check out some of that good old marbling we got on here. This baby's already been sitting out a couple hours. Luckily, I mean, with the amount you paid for it, I shouldn't say luckily. I think at the end of the day, my butcher here, local butcher, did a pretty nice job on the cleanup, so I'm not gonna really worry about it too much. I mean, you can take off a little bit of this area here and maybe a little bit right there just so you can expose some meat. But truthfully, you got to be careful because this tomahawk is pretty heavy. So if you take off too much of the little bit of fat around the outside, when this baby gets done cooking, it'll fall apart on you. So easily you can say, I mean, this has got to be about 3.5 inches. This baby is primed and ready to go. So I'm really not going to do too much to it at all. I've already, like I said, let it sit out for a couple hours, and pretty much I'm going to be keeping it real basic. Putting together a little compound butter to go in there, and I'm going with my Killer Hogs AP seasoning. So just something nice and general all the way around. I haven't even started my pit yet. I want this rub to sit on here for about the next 45 minutes to an hour. And then kind of like when we're seasoning brisket, keep in mind this is a big piece of meat. I'm not worried about how much is on there. Let's go ahead and pat that in nice and heavy. Really all you're doing is getting a small amount on there for what's really on there. Overall, I'm gonna even give a little bit over here on towards we get towards the tail, and a little bit on that bone, a little bit, season that bone a little bit. And we're definitely gonna want to make sure the piece of meat this big that we go ahead and also season our sides. Let's flip this baby over, nice and gentle. Woo, it's gonna be all right. Check out that other side. Look at that marbling. Make sure I get in there nice and close. A little late for Valentine's Day, but this is the perfect thing for you and somebody else. If you want to splurge and do something nice at the house and make it like a 5-star dinner, this is the way to go. It's the way we're going to do it today with Miller Q. Baby already feels nice and tender. Okay, now I want to get our sides. Normally, you know, if you've been following along, I'm usually one that likes to use binders. I didn't want a binder on this one today. I want to go, like I said, this is prime. And with this being as expensive as it was, I don't want anything to start clogging up my pores. I could have easily did a little layer of olive oil or something like that. And we'll definitely probably end up glazing it a little bit later on before we reverse sear this thing. But I'm going to go ahead and let it sit out since I got the little bit of time on my hands to let this baby kind of sweat out, and this salt will get all picked up. And this is how you do. We're just gonna roll it right over some of these heavier areas and get the rest of this baby all coated. Hopefully you can kind of see that. That's pretty much it. Okay, now we're gonna let this baby sit up. I'm going to go get my pit on and get it up to temp. We're gonna be smoking along slow and easy today. About 225 is what I'm going for. We're gonna get this baby up to an internal temp, and don't murder me. I know we got this beautiful piece of meat that we didn't pay too much money for, but Joe is normally one that likes about a well done steak. So I'm probably gonna be going for about a medium to a medium well. I'll probably let this baby go, and I'll also be able to tell by the way it's looking, probably to about a good 135, 140, something like that. Then I'll pop it off and then go ahead and sear it up, let it sit. It'll spike, should be good. Hold tight. All right, I wanted to show you one last thing. This baby's been sitting out here, and I can start to see it's slowly starting to get in there, but literally you can leave this on here for a good 45 minutes or so, just because of how I'm just adding on some how thick this thing is. I want some of the seasoning to penetrate into this on all sides for a little bit, so I want to set it out for a bit. I want to add a little bit of coarse black pepper. Obviously that all-purpose had pepper in it, but just for the texture and everything with a good steak, and like a lot of people, I like pepper. So I like some pepper So I want to put a little bit on there just to give me a nice pretty crust on the end. I like starting with that rub that has that salt in there first. That way you can kind of start to draw out some of the moisture. And then once that happens, then come back with this pepper so the pepper can just sit right on top. Hit all sides. And we're going to keep it going. Pretty much all I did since it's been sitting here was go ahead and start my coals up in my charcoal chimney. Figured you didn't need to see too much of that. And then we'll get this baby up to full flame, get the smoker going, and we'll be on. Hold tight. Hey team, my phone decided to restart right when I was putting this baby on, so you didn't get to see the initial, but hey, we got this baby song. Got it here at the bottom of the rack. Try to take my bone and put it a little bit away from my fire so it doesn't get too dark. And a lot of times some people will go ahead and throw some aluminum foil around this bone just to keep the presentation pretty. And I've seen a lot of people go ahead and cook with them just like as is. So I'm gonna leave mine as is. If it gets dark, just so it looks pretty on the back end, maybe I'll cover it up. But other than that, here the baby goes, nice and peppered up and looking good. We're gonna let you go to sleep in here for at least about an hour and a half. I'll probably flip it at about 45 minutes. I'll give you a peek then. And other than that, night night. Been riding smooth at about 225. Let's check this baby out. Obviously, we know we're close to getting ready. I am going to throw a thermometer in here, but not very too much yet. Right now, I'm just getting some smoke in. So we about 45 minutes in. We've been rolling pretty much at about close to about 235 roughly. I'm going to go ahead and just flip this because I'm anticipating. All right. That's one thing I love about these grates. They already give you some beautiful grate marks. I'm anticipating another good 45 minutes in, and I'm about to throw my probe in so I can start getting an idea where I'm at on temp. My bones still look safe. And then, like I said, once we get to around 135-ish, I'll see how it looks. I'm assuming at least about an hour and a half or almost an hour and 45 minutes. That's when I'll be going over here to sear this baby. Got my probe set up, and I thought it'd be good to kind of show you this. So where am I going to temp this baby at? I don't want to move it on the grate and mess it all up. But pretty much what I'm thinking is, when you're putting this baby in, you want to go into about the center. But what I want to do, so I'm going to go in, you get a nice measurement, roughly halfway in. That way you don't get a false reading with this, oops, let me scoot this up. So I don't get this fat area that goes around this cap, give you a false reading. I want to end up halfway in so I can know exactly where I'm at the center. So that's what I'm going to be doing right there. Right there, directly in, will give me my good reading. All right, let's sit tight. I'll see you in about 45 minutes. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Well, we got this thing smoking along. We're gonna go ahead and put together some of this compound butter real quick, and that way we got something that's able to chill out, and we put it back in the fridge, and it kind of come together while we're waiting on this cook to get finished up. So when you're making your compound butter, you don't want this butter to get necessarily too done, but you can definitely let it sit out for a second, just because we're gonna be kind of mushing it together, so it helps to make it a little bit malleable. So real simple, nothing too crazy. I'm gonna be adding in today, and you can add in whatever you want into your compound butter, just to add a little bit of extra flavor onto whatever kind of meat we're using. First thing I'm going with is a little bit of fresh parsley. Parsley is strong, so I'm not using too much of that. Some fresh rosemary. Add that in. And some fresh thyme, one of my favorites. You know, it's crazy because you can literally already smell that this smells great. Kind of stack these up together, and then from there I want to add in a little bit of salt. Another thing to throw in there too, I use the unsalted butter. That easy, that way I can control how much salt I want to add into it. And that's it too, you probably already got some salt on whatever you got seasoning. And then I'm gonna add in some fresh cracked pepper. Now, I'm a fan of pepper, so I'll make sure I give me a decent amount of that. Okay. And then from there, all I'm gonna do is start to mix this together, and I'm gonna get this all into a nice little ball, and then I'm gonna show you what we do next. Hold tight, team. All right, I just wanted to bring you in now that this is all put together and just give you an idea of what it looks like. I went ahead and switched to a spoon, much easier to kind of squish it around. Like I said, we don't want it to be melted, but pretty much you're going to end up malleting all of this stuff together until it's all one big happy family. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to put together this actual loaf. All right, so I got me some saran wrap. This is what we're going to do next. We got this thing all put together. All I want you to do is we're going to take a nice big scoop of that. and pretty much put it in about the middle of the saran wrap as best you can. I tell you what, this stuff already smells amazing. And from there, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna fold it over. Basically, what we're gonna do is make us a small loaf. So all I'm about to do is start forming this over into a nice little loaf. And then by the time I roll this over, I want to get it into about the size that I want it to be in. And then kind of think about how it is when you're normally getting your margarine or butter, whatever, out of the grocery store. And then I'm going to roll it over. Roll it over. And then kind of like if we were doing brats or sausage, I'll twist these ends a little bit. Sure, if I was a vet, I could hit you like this. There we go. And then from there, I'm gonna leave it out just like that. And from here, this is what we're gonna take in. I'll bring it in close so you can check it out. Made this nice little loaf. I'm gonna spin it tight. Oh, we almost lost it. We almost lost it, team. And I want me to have me some nice solid fat pieces, so I'm gonna leave it just like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in the refrigerator for the next hour or so while this thing is finishing up on the cook. And then this is gonna go on at the very end. Hold tight, team. We rolling. We are an hour and 48 minutes in. Let's check this thing out. I let it go a little bit longer. You see I've thrown in my probe. I'll let you see my little setup I got here. I'm at 140 is what I'm seeing here on my probe temp. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna take this off. So that way I can leave that probe in there. I'm kind of curious to how much it might spike up while I let it chill. Pretty much what I've done is I've already got me some coals fired up. Only thing I'm gonna do is take that baby off. I need to get this, I like to take this off at the last minute, so that way I don't damage this top by taking too much heat. This thing is probably, to me, one of the most heaviest parts on here that I wasn't expecting. So I'll take that off. That way I can expose that top grate with the length of this bone. I'm gonna go ahead and guesstimate. I probably could go ahead and get that on there, but I'm gonna do something a little bit easier and just open the firebox, since I'm gonna be throwing on those hot coals over there to kick up my temperature at the last minute. And then I can just pull that grate out and then be able to put this baby on there. So right now we at 140. Normally, if you were somebody looking at around medium rare or something like that, you probably would have pulled at about 125 or something like that. Bone looks still good, so I'm not too worried about that even. So pretty much I'll bring you back once I get over there into the firebox and I start getting things together. All right, this baby's been hanging out for about at least 10 minutes. Probably popped up to about around 143. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give it a little bit of light. Cover this olive oil. I'm just using, just so you know, I usually cop this at Sam's or Costco. It's just like basically real olive oil in the can. Be gentle with it. You don't want this thing to fall apart on you. Boom. Hit both sides with a little bit of olive oil now. I haven't touched it since. And then when we get over here to the grill, I got rid of my griddle. Look at that fire roaring. We ready to go. And I'm pulling my tray out so I can basically sit it in from the side. I'll push it in, close it up, and I'm gonna give it a good minute and a half on each side. All right, minute and a half. I just flipped it. I'll slide this baby back in here, close it up. Now this side was the pretty side. We'll give it a minute and a half too. All right, I threw that camera light on so you can get a little bit better view. So I just flipped it over again, working on another minute and a half. And pretty much what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna keep working it back and forth until I get to the right sear that I'm looking for. Obviously I can be brave and just leave it on there, but I'm starting to lose a little bit of daylight. It's getting a little dark over here. So I want to make sure that at this point you done paid this much for this meat, don't you mess it up. Bone looks solid. This baby is sucking, and you know you gotta taste your fingers every time you move it. And I tell you what, that's the SPG. Sometimes you forget how good just good old-fashioned salt, pepper, and garlic can be. So I'm working on another minute and a half on this other side, which actually is the side that looks a little bit more pale. So I might let it go ahead and go a little bit longer, then I'm gonna flip it again. I'll bring you back. Now we in there. That was a good sear. That's about where I wanted it to be. A little bit of char on there. That baby's gonna be absolutely perfect. I'm hitting this last side. We're gonna give it a quick minute and we pulling. And then we're gonna let this thing sit and then we'll taste it. Yeah. You gotta love that fire, man. I gotta bring you in close on that. All right, so like I said, bringing it from the side, this was the perfect way to go. So we done in here. Close that up. Close this up. We done in here. Let's slide over here and check us out. Baby. So this is what we gonna do. Only thing I'm gonna do is let this baby sit. I'm gonna lightly tint it and cover it up with a little bit of this foil. And when I say lightly tinted, I mean I'm not trying to cover it up so there's no air that breathes. I'm just gonna lightly put a little bit of foil over the top so that way it's more or less covered and that it keeps its heat. And I'm gonna let it hang out for about 10 minutes. But first, I'm gonna throw a little bit of that butter that we made earlier that's in the fridge. I'm about to bring that back out. We're gonna throw a pat of that right on top and I'm gonna let that melt right over the top while it's sitting here tinted. Hold tight. All right, so this baby's hanging out. I went in there and grabbed my bit of compound butter we put together. Now I'm just gonna cut me off. It's nice and hard now, nice and loaf. Cut me off a nice couple pieces of that there. And I'm gonna bring you in. I'll tell you what, my house smells amazing right now. We made some potatoes, used a little bit of these extra ingredients, but it's that butter you put together right there. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna cover this baby. And while it's hanging out here in the tent, we're gonna let it go ahead and self-baste. So we're gonna leave that just like that. Get this butter and everything ready to get out of here. And we'll take that and cover you like that. And all I wanna do is lightly tint it. Just like that. I'll take something and hold it down. A little tight around the bone. And there we go. I'm gonna let this hold out for about 10 minutes or so, and then we're gonna come back and get this thing a taste. Alright, so we got this baby done. We done rested here about good 15 minutes. You can see that this butter on here that's kind of just melted and all that beautiful compound butter we put together and those herbs and spices is kind of dripped all over this steak. I can actually see a trail where it's actually ran all the way off of my board. But let's cut into this thing and see what we got. So pretty much this is what we're gonna do. First things first, we're gonna have to lift this thing up and we're just gonna go right along the crest of the bone itself. And the first thing that I want to do is get rid of this bone. Okay, so now as we get out of that, we get the ribeye that you probably used to seeing when you're at the restaurant. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just go halfway just to kind of see what we look like. That's beautiful for me. Not too done. I got a little bit of pink for the people that care, but I'm a little more closer to the gray side. And then from there, we'll go ahead and make us some slices. And we'll get ready and give this thing a taste and see what we came out with. I already see the one I want. This one right here. I'm gonna bring this one out. I'll bring it up here into the front. Gonna get us a nice little taste. I'm gonna bring it in close for you. I'll tell you what, this baby feels juicy and tender already. And now let's do the best part. Cheers. I love it. I was debating on which seasoning to use. I'm glad we decided to go with just the salt, pepper, and garlic, something nice and basic. Let that meat shine through, and then finishing off with that compound butter. This is special. I tell you what, we're gonna cut up the rest of this. Me and my family, we about to get ready for dinner. Thanks for hanging out with us. Killer Middle Q. Catch you next time. Peace.